Well, we don't have much time, but I think we will use any time we need to discuss. If we have questions, I would ask the first question. I thought first to ask something very philosophical, but actually I came up with a better idea because myself I work partly at a national broadcast television company, reading news in a minority language, which happened to be Russian in Finland, and reading the topic of our discussion, I took somehow the three views, 3 points of views: state, community, individual. So we have to think about these common spaces from those points of view. And I mean, working at this national company, reading news in Russian feels very cool for me. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm proud, but at least I'm very thankful for the opportunity because I learn a lot. I enjoy it so far, at least. But if I ask my friends, my Russian speakers living in Finland, do they watch this every day? What do you think? So I guess the most amount of people watching actually on the TV, the news, would be Finnish people wanting to learn Russian, because that would be a text below. Or Finnish people who put their TV on because they don't want to miss Finnish news that comes after that. And then I ask myself, where is the connection between state, which provides such a great thing, with some money, I wouldn't say with a lot of money, but with some money to the community of some target group of Russian speakers who are actually built from individuals, or which is built from individuals. And when is the question what actually those individuals really need? And are they asked what they need? Well, actually, I, as a representative of Russian-speaking society in Finland, before this news in Russian was even created, I was asked, my opinion was asked twice. What do I think of that? So we're planning to do this. And I gave some answer, I'm not going to repeat it, but what actually came out was completely different, completely else what I and some other experts told. And well, I'm wondering how to connect these three things, which are somehow they are connected, somehow they have to be connected, but somehow I don't see the connection when I think even about myself working in this. So what do you think? Is it three completely different spaces? Are they separated from each other? And how we can use these common spaces, information spaces, to kind of find this connection again, maybe?
Well, I may start with my experience as being editor-in-chief of the Russian language unit at the Latvian public television. So the situation when this unit was created kind of reminds the situation when ETV Plus was created. So the first obstacle in order to address Russian-speaking audience was lack of trust. And we can talk about state, individual, group level, but when you do not have trust between those levels, why is state suddenly thinking about me as a Russian-speaking individual, providing me finally with some information in Russian on public television? Is it because of the year 2014? Probably yes. Then do I trust this kind of information? And do I trust this kind of state which had an idea to talk to me only out of this situation? And the budget that was given to create this additional public television Russian-speaking unit was out of unexpected expenses. Out of unexpected expenses to address Russian-speaking audiences. So I think that we can talk about levels. If there is no trust between levels, we should create it.
The next question, how? But
I will pass.
Yeah.
We will need a lot of money to create it, because it's all about content that you produce, that you offer to the audience.
Actually, I agree. It's all about money, and I think if a given state has the resources, they should be producing media content in as many languages as they can. In Sweden, the public service radio, I think at the moment, has broadcastings in like 15 languages, including Russian. And I don't think the Russian community in Sweden is that huge. I mean, there are some, but still. And I think one aspect, which is of course not maybe then about people who live in the country, is that people outside the country can use this content. You know, people who don't understand Swedish, but they can access the information, which is also on the website, in Russian. They can be in Russia or in Latvia or Estonia, and this is also the chance for the given state to try to present itself also towards outside. But that of course goes a little bit outside the scope of our discussion. But yes, I think in general, if you have the resources, why not? And if you have some by effects that somebody who wants to learn the language can listen to it, watch it, why not? I don't see any harm. But I think what we have seen also particularly in Latvia, but I think in Estonia as well, that there is some kind of gap between, okay, let's produce a content in that language, but the audience, of course, the language matches, but the content is somehow not reaching them. So this needs to be somehow fixed. So maybe also they need to be engaged and asked even more times, what exactly do you think should be in the content? Mm-hmm.
That's interesting that you brought up the money and importance of resources, because I mean the politically the gesture of my example, for example, it looks very nice to present. I mean, we are taking care of our Russian-speaking minority in Finland. We have news in Russian on TV on the first channel. But if you think that the budget of fiction on the national broadcast television, one day of because they're making films and serials and such stuff, so one day of this budget is like many times more than 1 year of our budget. And I think that this is it tells you something about priorities and the actual importance of the thing for.
But actually, the fictions is important because it attracts people.
Yes, exactly.
They watch fiction, then they watch your news.
Yeah.
But if I may add, I just said that resources are important, but of course financial resources, but there are other ways also to include people from different minority groups into the mainstream media, and one very nice way is to include them. Let's say you have a newspaper in Estonian, but you have Russian speakers working in that newspaper, right? And it can be applied to many different groups. I know in Sweden, I keep repeating Sweden because I have spent so many years there, and I just know the society. Transgender people, you know, I mean, the discussion has changed positively so much because they started, instead of trying to, they read up about transgender people rights, and then they try to make an article, but maybe we should ask somebody who is transgender, hey, here is an article, what do you think about it? Is it okay? Or maybe we should change something, the language. You know, transgender people are very sensitive towards the language. Do you write he or she or they and so on? And it has become so much better because they included those people themselves. You know, and also, I mean, these things I said about refugees. Maybe somebody doesn't want to reveal he or she is a refugee. And the same with transgender people. Some of them, they have changed the gender, and they insist on that, you know, if I don't want to tell about my previous identity, I just don't. And, you know, it's even rude to ask, right? So, and this all was achieved just by including these people who were also journalists. So if you find Russian speakers who are journalists, refugees who are journalists, gays who are journalists, take them in.
No, they actually want to be in media. I personally know some transgenders, they will never agree to talk with me in the media officially.
But to work
they prefer
for
not to discuss about.
But this is a very important question that you brought up about public language or changing the language. Because when we in Latvia talk about Russian speaking or Russian language people relations and Latvians, we always say they, us, they. And this non-inclusiveness, which is embedded in the language itself, others, they, those Russians, or those Latvians. So it's a matter of probably even inventing a better language about integration. We all know that integration is a swear word in the Baltics. Why? Because it's overused, because it doesn't work anymore. So what about inventing the language about I think the politicians mentioned non-citizens, non-Estonians, non-Latvians. I mean, why?
Let's talk about people and humanities.
Okay, thank you. I mean, we have still some time, and if none of you ask a question, I will ask my philosophical question, and we'll sit here until 6 o'clock. Thank you very much. You're saving us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Birgit Lüüs from the Estonian Ministry of Interior. I have a question to UNHCR, actually. And the question is, have you discussed inside of your organization of what you could do more in terms of media proactively? Because you mentioned the migration compact, and it's very lively discussed in the media these days. And I don't think that in today's media and society, it's not enough to post positive stories in UNHCR's webpage. You have to be more proactive, and I'm just thinking whether you have also thought about what you could do more, because when ministries post or kind of focus on the misinterpretations in the media, it might be labeled as propaganda because we are the government's agencies, but we need other actors to be more involved and to really fight with those misinterpretations that are so common these days. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You actually partly asked my philosophical question.
Yes, of course, this. I would also simply agree, right, that we always need to do something more. Then again, for UN in general, we have to be a little bit careful because we don't work against any government, any, and I really mean any. Not even, some people don't like Donald Trump, some people don't like Bashar Assad. We are not the ones who will go out and criticize a given regime. We have to work with all the countries to ensure protection of refugees. That's the main goal. So we have to be much more balanced, much more careful than, for example, Amnesty International. So reasonably, you cannot expect us to be this campaigner and demanding a change kind of organization. We are trying to help. I think what we need to do more in countries like Estonia and Latvia, we need to work in closer cooperation with the governments, also towards media. And trust me, it's not only that if you send out a press release that it can be regarded as propaganda. It's the same with us. It's UN, it's coming from outside, it's a global conspiracy, it's George Soros, everything. And since, I mean, we are an international organization, we are all from different countries, and I have seen comments, some colleagues who are from this or that country, and then somebody just doesn't like them. So we have to just live with that, and but I agree. We need to be more proactive, and we need to work in a closer cooperation. And of course, the downside is that we do not have permanent staff in Estonia and Latvia. That's a real downside. I'm not sure if it's going to be changed. Maybe yes, maybe no, but it's not really on my level of decision. I hope yes, because that's already a game changer. I know it from my personal experience with journalists. If you are there, they will reach out to you much more often than if, as now, I sit in Stockholm mainly, and then just come over. So I hope I somewhat answered your question.
To bring the question a little bit further, I think the saddest thing about dealing with challenges is actually that we react on something that has already happened instead of trying to make it not happening. So do you, Alessia and Olga, do you have any idea how we can use these common information spaces to make them more proactive instead of reactive?
As I said,
do we need
it has to be a cultural space, and it's all about humanities. So we are talking too much about the issues that are actually not important. If you're always talking about money, about clicks, about cheap popularity, it doesn't work. I think it's all because of our ignorance. We have to promote humanities at the universities. They're not popular at the moment. It's a cultural problem.
Well, I worked on one document with the special committee of the Latvian president. We made an audit of integrational efforts in Latvia during last 20 years. So it sounds awful, but we came to one of the very simple conclusions that we lack natural spaces of mixed communication between communities. So we can talk about, artificial spaces, media spaces, information spaces, but we lack natural communication spaces for kids, for example. They're still segregated into different educational systems, schools. For example, kindergarten is still there. And in Latvia, we have a very big percentage of mixed marriages between Latvians and non-Latvians, forgive my language. And that shows that in these natural environments, many more problems are discussed and developed further than in artificial spaces. So let's have more shared natural spaces of communication. Mm-hmm.
And if I may add also, I mean, you touched a little bit upon the question of education, and I think that's important. I mean, matters like, I'm talking about my field, obviously, migration and refugees need to be discussed already in school, right? I mean, I think we who grew up still more or less in Soviet Union, I mean, I spent most of my school years in Soviet Union, and those who experienced that, we didn't get any valid information on migration and refugees at all, or to speak of history and all these things. So these topics need to be included, and when people say, no, but it is sensitive, you will be brainwashing kids and so on. Wait a second. They are out on the internet. They are out on social media. They watch television. They see what is happening in Greece and Italy. And the result is one of the kids in my family, we were just walking in a supermarket, and he was, oh, that's a terrorist. I was like, wait a second, what did you just say? It was, that man looked a little bit maybe like you, a little bit darker. And I was like, what did you just say? Why? And he's like, well, but he looked like he's from some Arab Muslim countries. And I talked more, and I understood that he has been just watching some YouTube videos, and nobody's explaining to him what is what. And he's just drawing conclusions very, very quickly.
There's time for one question more, and then we have to close.
Yeah, my name is Raivo Edik. I come from Tallinn University. I would like to comment Olesia's presentation. I liked it very much. It was sharp and smart. And I'd like to ask, or just discuss one point you made. You said that it is difficult for Russian journalists in Estonia to criticize Estonian government. I think there are two sides. One side is like, we live in a Western democracy, we have civil society should have voice, etc., etc. Another side of this issue is security context. In the context of sharpening geopolitical conflict between Russia and the West, it is understandable where this pressure comes. But I would like to argue that if Russian journalists in Estonia do not criticize Estonian authorities, this is a security threat for Estonia. Because if you do not do that, then your audience does not trust you. And probably this is one of the reasons why Russian language people in Estonia follow Moscow news, not Tallinn news. So just I think we should try to argue that listening to the voice of Russian language population is in security interest in Estonia, because right now it comes like vice versa. We are told that we live in tough security context and that is why you need to shut down. I think our argument should be that it is exactly vice versa.
Actually, we do criticize Estonian government. We criticize everyone who is worth it. But maybe the problem is that Russian editorial teams doesn't have so many resources to make its own opinion loud. The biggest problem is we are always translating something from Estonian language. We don't have resources to produce something that is our own content. This is a problem, especially in the private media.
Okay, I'm afraid we have to close because we actually the time has been up for a longer time. I thank you very much. It was, for me at least, very interesting. I hope for those who are so brave to still sit here, it was not less interesting. And if you want to discuss more, then of course we will be for some time drinking coffee. Thank you very much.